Season's greetings, and welcome back to Buzzed Pucks. We're back after a week break. If you follow us on Twitter, which I know 3 of you do, we took off last week just because the NHL had postponed
a bunch of games,
all of except 2 games last week due to a bunch of COVID stuff happening with literally everybody.
We just took a holiday break.
We took a holiday break. It was Christmas break. Christmas was there too. There was already like a small break in the NHL schedule anyway around Christmas, so we're back.
Woo!
And better than ever, maybe. As always,
the truest.
As always, I'm Bert.
I'm Clay.
And we're here to talk to you about Week 10 and 11 of the NHL season, and I think we're also going to take a look at the standings because we're getting close to the halfway point.
Yep.
In the schedule,
most teams have played 30 games.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
probably
almost
a good time.
halfway.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to look at the schedule, and then we got our final mascots to get Jenny's thoughts on. These ones are from the Metro, and one of them definitely does meth. So,
the Metro.
I'll introduce the beer this week because
yes.
I brought it from my homeland. We are drinking the Nut Roll Ale. It's the winter ale from Penn Brewing Company, which is in Pittsburgh. These are in bottles, so not quite as fun of a cracking noise. You can still hear that. But I've had these before. If I remember correctly from last winter when I had them, they're pretty good. So I hope I'm correct.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So
it's a 10.
If you have you ever had a nut roll? It's a dessert.
Yes.
It does kind of taste like a nut roll. So a nut roll is just like a pastry.
I might be thinking of pumpkin roll. So I definitely had a pumpkin
that
roll.
Different. It's like instead of pumpkin, it's like walnuts or almonds or something.
Perfect.
In kind of like a paste.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah,
they're good.
It's a roll.
It's a roll. It's a roll, folks. And let's get on a roll.
That was an excellent
and talk
transition.
About
good.
The Central Division.
Good job.
So, like I said, in Week 11, which was Christmas week, there was only 2 games played.
So we both get 1.
Yeah, so it actually worked out that that one each of the games was just specifically our teams.
Yep.
So my game was Central team versus Central team. So let's start with the Central.
Yep.
Let's talk about Arizona. So Arizona only played 2 games in Week 10. No games in Week 11. They were all postponed. They were 1-1 in those 2 games. They lost to the Rangers. They beat Anaheim in overtime. And that takes their grand total overall record to 6-21-2. One of their better weeks. One of their better weeks.
They're closing on
2 games away from surpassing the Washington Capitals.
Tying
the Washington
They're
Capitals.
Closing into not being the worst team ever.
Can they do it? They have 50-ish games left to play.
You hope so.
I would hope they could get double-digit wins in 50 games. It's 4 more wins. Come on, guys. Come on, Arizona. They were 1 for 6 on the power play this week and 4 for 8 on the penalty kill. That's right.
It's so bad.
4 for 8. Not good. Not good. Their top player this week was Clayton Keller. 3 goals, 2 assists. Real good week for him. And as for injuries, they had a bunch of COVID.
Yep.
Which is going to be...
I'm not even going to mention...
Let's just skip over the injuries this week.
Everyone has COVID.
Everyone has COVID. Super fun time.
Yep.
Thankfully, I haven't heard of anything serious. No serious symptoms with anybody in COVID. At worst, maybe a bad cold-ish. So hopefully that keeps up. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to Chicago. They played 3 games in Week 10. They were 1-0-2 in those 3 games.
At least they got the loser points.
They did get those loser points. That'll help them in the standings. I don't actually know where. We'll get to the standings at the end. They beat Washington in overtime. They lost to Nashville in overtime and lost to Dallas in overtime. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They did have a game against Calgary that got postponed.
Gotcha.
And Arizona had a game against Vancouver that got postponed. So that brings their overall record to 11-15-4. It's
not great.
They're creeping towards being 500, but we'll see if they actually get to that. They were, my handwriting's bad, 4 for 14 on the power play. Not great, not terrible. 10 for 16 on the power play, which is not very good. No. Their top player this week was Brandon Hagel, who had 4 assists.
I love that name.
It's so close to being bagel. So close. The best kind of bread.
Yes.
All right. So, moving on to Colorado. Colorado played 2 games before they got shut down until past the Christmas break. They beat the Rangers and they lost to Nashville for a 1-1 record in Week 10. Overall record of 17-8-2. Very good record for Colorado. 2 for 10 on the power play.
They're heating up.
Meh. 5 for 7 on the penalty kill. Also meh. Not terrible, but
their special teams has not been good.
No, it's weird, especially for the power play. You would think that would be like way better with the type of guys that they have on that team. You know, McKinnon and Rantanen and Kadri and Makar and all those guys, but their power play just really hasn't been great.
No, they've been also. It's also been letting up a lot of shorties. I believe.
Yeah, odd. But their top player this week was Nazem Kadri, who's been the top player a bunch of times this season so far. He had 4 assists, so 4 assists, 2 games, pretty good. And Colorado, pretty good.
Yeah.
And now we get to a team that actually played in Week 11, Dallas. So in Week 10, Dallas went 1-2. They lost to St. Louis twice, both times by a score of 4-1. I just thought that was odd.
Weird.
Then they beat Chicago in overtime. And then in Week 11, they they beat Minnesota.
Okay.
So pretty good. So overall 2-2 in the kind of weekend one game.
Right.
That they had. Their overall record is 15-12-2, so they're kind of like middling now. Dallas is kind of just treading water. Their power play in those 4 games was 4 for 16. Their penalty kill was 8 for 13. Not super good.
I think 4 for 16 could be better too.
A quarter. It's 25%.
All right, never mind.
That's
my
pretty
math
good.
Sucks. Never mind. No.
That's pretty good. I mean, getting that many power plays, obviously, you'd be like, oh, he should score more than that. But 25% is usually a pretty good power play mark.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Overall. Joe Pavelski was their top player this week. 2 goals, 3 assists. Oh, you know what? I don't know. I didn't write down what he did in that Minnesota game. So in Week 10, he had 2 goals and 3 assists. Pretty good week for Mr. Pavelski.
I do want to mention, since we're on Dallas, because the last time we recorded, Hudobin got put on waivers.
Oh, that's right. And we thought he was going to get taken, and did not.
He cleared waivers, so he's
surprised.
I think it's that $3.5 million cap hit.
It's not that bad though for a guy that can start.
I know, but
I guess. Well, we thought maybe Edmonton would probably grab him, but I don't know. Maybe they're so close to the cap that they can't.
And I think Mike Smith
maybe is coming back. Well, I mean, that's good. I mean, I always like when guys come back from injury, but yeah, I'm pretty shocked that Hudobin didn't get picked up, because it's $3.5 million, but it's only for the rest of this year. That's not that bad, and there's plenty of bad teams that could have used him,
100%.
like Buffalo.
100%.
And they have plenty of cap room.
So they might be.
So who knows? Nobody took him.
Nope.
So I believe he.
That's why we're not GMs.
He is in the minor thing. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised by it. So, moving on to the other team that had a game in Week 11, Minnesota, who I just mentioned, lost to Dallas in that game. But in Week 10, they only played 1 game, and they lost in a shootout to Buffalo. Their other 2 games in Week 10 got postponed. Obviously, overall, they were 0-1-1 the past 2 weeks. That brings their overall record to 19-9-2. 1 for 5 on the power play, 5 for 6 on the penalty kill. Not a super good week for Minnesota. I didn't give them a top player because they played
1 game,
2 games. So, and they didn't really have a good showing in either one of those games. And yeah. Oh, Jared Spurgeon did get hurt, not COVID related.
Gotcha.
But he might be back when the league starts back up. Nashville had 2 games in Week 10 before they were shut down through the Christmas break. Their game against Calgary got postponed. Most games against Calgary got postponed. They did beat Colorado, and they did beat Chicago in overtime for 2-0.
Good for them.
In Week 10. 19-10-1.
Yeah, they...
Overall. Nashville's starting to pull away and starting to look like a team that could contend for the Western Conference. You never know when you get to the playoffs, but they could be in the conversation.
They're over 500 now.
Well over 500.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, well over 500.
And that was kind of sneaky because we were talking a while how they were inconsistent.
They were kind of just like 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, But now the last few weeks, Nashville has strung together a bunch of wins. And they're looking pretty good. They're in pretty good shape right now. 4 for 10 on the power play that week. 8 for 9 on the penalty kill. Pretty good special teams week for them. Philip Forsberg had 2 goals and 2 assists in those 2 games that were played. Pretty good. And COVID reigned supreme over there as well. Moving on to St. Louis, that actually got to play all of their games in Week 10. They were 2-1. Like I mentioned when I talked about Dallas, they beat Dallas twice, both 4-1. Which is weird.
Yep.
And then they lost to Winnipeg. So 2-1. Overall, 17-9-5. Not a bad record for St. Louis.
Very good.
There seems to be, especially in the Central, there's a collection of teams up near the top of the division.
Yeah.
That are all within striking distance of each other. So that'll be fun to watch as the season goes on. Their top player that week was Charlie Lindgren, who was 2-0 with a 1.00 goals against average and a .967 save percentage.
Good for Lindgren.
I don't think I said this. They were 3 for 10 on the power play, 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. Pretty good week for St. Louis.
That's a great
Pretty good week. On to Winnipeg, who also got to play all of their games this week. And there's actually something interesting to say about Winnipeg. 1 for 2 in those 3 games. Lost to Buffalo, lost to Washington, beat St. Louis. Overall record 14-11-5, which I would say not a horrible record. They're under 500, but not terribly under 500.
Right.
But after that loss to Buffalo, Paul Maurice, who was their head coach, resigned. For a while. He's been their head coach for... he was one of the highest tenured coaches.
Yes.
Still out there.
And he resigned out of nowhere. No one asked him to.
Nobody asked him to. Nobody knew it was coming. But apparently, from what I've seen, he seemed to think that he lost the locker room, and he just thought it was time to go.
He said, I've gotten this team as far as I could at this point, which is second round of the playoffs a couple of times.
Yeah, they haven't done bad under him.
No, not at all.
Certainly not.
So...
It was just out of nowhere.
And that's what makes him a good coach.
Yeah.
Because...
He didn't overstay his welcome. He was like, you know what? This is as far as I can go with this team.
There are a bunch of other teams that will pick him up.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as he wants to coach again,
as soon as he wants to be a coach again, I could see him taking a year off or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, he'll be a coach again in short order.
Oh, 100%.
Their top player this week was Nikolai Ehlers, who had 2 goals and 5 assists in those 3 games. Real good week for him. They were 2 for 9 on the power play, 6 for 7 on the penalty kill, and that is the Central.
All right, on to the Atlantic.
Tell me about them.
So, first up is Boston. They played 2 of their 4 scheduled games for Week 10.
Okay. Well.
They lost both of them to the Vegas and Islanders. So,
interesting.
And they lost, basically... It's a 4-1 loss and then a 3-1 loss, so not good showings at all.
Rough.
They were over 4 on the power play and then 4 for 6 on the penalty kill. Their overall rankings, 14, 10, and 2. So not bad, but
still over 500, but definitely not where I think a lot of people thought Boston was going to be this year.
They're pretty.
They've regressed.
They're in the middle of the Atlantic with that record. Next up is Buffalo, who played all of their games.
Hey, good for them.
In Week 10. And they went 2-0-1. Good week for Buffalo.
Hey, yeah. Buffalo's thriving while everyone else is
100%
getting hit hard.
So that, again, beating Winnipeg, shootout win against Minnesota, and then overtime loss to Pittsburgh. So, they were 1 for 7 on the power play, 8 for 9 on the penalty kill, and then Rasmus Dahlin is their player of the week, with 3 goals, 5 hits, and 5 block shots.
Oh, nice. That's what I'm sure a lot of people in Buffalo wanted Dolly to be. He
100%.
hasn't really panned out that way yet, but you could. There's some like
he's an offensive defenseman that coaches were trying to make him a defensive defenseman. So not playing his style.
It could be more of a organizational thing than a him thing, but we'll see.
He also does have some brain these past couple of weeks. He has had some brain farts, and that's.
He's a young guy too.
It's led to some shorthanded goals.
Yeah. That's not good. But.
Basically, that one Seattle game gave up 2 shorthanded goals.
Ooh,
yeah.
That sucks.
But they're either way. Their record now is 10, 15, and 5. Not good, but still better than what was expected.
Yeah, they're not Arizona, so. But that's kind of where we thought they would be. Buffalo, like in the bottom quarter.
But a lot of people had them at Arizona level.
I guess that's true, but yeah. Well, they had they had started off kind of hot,
super hot,
and then they came back down to earth.
All right, so up next is Detroit, who also played all 3 of their games.
Nice.
Going 2-1 as well. So,
all right.
They had a pretty good week, beating the Islanders and the Devils, but losing to Carolina.
Most teams are losing to Carolina.
Most teams are losing to Carolina. They are 1 for 9 on the power play, 3 for 4 on the penalty kill. Dylan Larkin is back to being their top player.
Captain Dylan.
With 5 goals, 2 assists, and then 3 block shots. 2 block shots, excuse me.
He's a really good player.
He's so good.
He's really come into his own the last few years.
And their record is 15, 13, and 3.
Okay. They're still holding on.
As of now, they're in a playoff spot.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, but that's much better than I think most people, including us, thought that Detroit was going to be.
All right. After Detroit, who did not have a good time, is Florida. They played 2 of their 3 scheduled games.
Well, at least I got the majority of their
They
games.
lost them both.
Oh, bummer.
Getting pretty much walloped the entire time.
Oh, really?
They lost to Ottawa 8-2.
Ooh. Ouch.
And what's crazy about that is they kept Spencer Knight in for all 8 goals.
Why?
I don't know. And then they sent him to the AHL afterwards.
Oh, that's so mean.
It's so mean.
That happened to a guy on Montreal a few years ago where I think they were playing a back-to-back and Carey Price played the game before. And so in the second of the back-to-back was, I don't remember who it was, and he lit up 10 goals and they refused to pull him out.
I think it was Montembeau.
No, he never played for Montreal. Not back then.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. I can't remember who it was, but they just wouldn't pull him, and everybody was like,
"No, they let him sit there for 8 goals."
You sit in your mess. You think about what
he
you
still
did.
blocked 30 shots, but
more power to him. That sucks that they left him in for all 8 goals.
It's gotta be so demoralizing. But also demoralizing is they went 0 for 10 on the power play.
Oof.
And then 4 for 6 on the penalty kill.
Oof.
So they had a bad time.
Yeah, not great for Florida, but
they are 18, 7, and 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have some room to.
They've dropped a little bit. They've dropped a little these past couple weeks, but Barkov's been out, so
right.
Hopefully he's back when we restart.
Maybe
We'll see what happens.
Could be.
And again, they don't get a top player for that.
Yeah, not a week like that.
So Montreal's up next. They played 2 of their 3 games.
Okay.
Going 1-1, losing to Pittsburgh, and then beating Philadelphia. Almost couldn't read my handwriting. In a shootout. Yeah, not a shootout. So going 0 for 4 on the power play, and then 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. Drouin and Dauphine both had a goal and assist. So it's what you can ask for.
Yeah.
You won a game, I'll give you something.
Yeah.
They are 7, 21, and 3.
Oh boy. Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize they were that close to Arizona.
Yeah, no, they're bad.
1 game better than Arizona, basically. Boy, that's bad.
Well, people are getting fired. So
the Stanley Cup final last year. It's so weird.
Yeah, they got hot.
I know it was a weird situation, but
They got hot
It's
at the
so
right
funny.
time, but
Yeah, it's just so funny.
with the losses that they took.
Get like the number 1 pick very easily.
Mm-hmm. Someone who else might get the number 1 pick due to a draft lottery is Ottawa.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They played 3 of their 4 games.
If I had to guess who's going to get the number 1 overall pick, who's probably going to be Shane Wright, it'll be somebody in the Metro Division of fucking again.
Yep, of course.
Yeah.
Because
the hockey gods hate the Metro Division.
Or they love them. Who knows?
Yeah.
They went 1-1-1.
Okay.
Again, 3 of their 4 games.
Boring.
Like I said, kicking the crap out of Florida.
Right.
Losing outright to Tampa, and then losing in overtime to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Forsberg was their goalie all 3 times. So they've Gustafsson must have been dealing with COVID or something.
Maybe. Every team. If a guy wasn't playing, it's a good guess to be like, maybe he was on the COVID list.
So they are currently 9-17-2 overall.
Better than Montreal.
It's not hard to do.
For real.
But they also went 2 for 7 on the power play, and then 12 for 13 on the penalty kill, which is
that's not good.
12 for 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 12 for 13. That's good. My bad.
Wait a minute. Drake Batherson had a goal, 3 assists, and 3 block shots.
And a dope ass name.
It's really one of the
Drake
best ones.
Batherson.
We're going to the next up is the team who played in week 11. It's Tampa Bay.
The Lightning.
They in week 10 played 2 of their 3 games, winning them both against the Kings and Ottawa.
Sorry.
Be sorry.
So the table like that.
Their power play was 1 for 8. Penalty kill was 3 for 4. Very good.
Yeah.
Hedman had 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 block shots in those 2 games. They are 19. I'll go over their overall record in a second. After week 11, because they beat Vegas, so 3-0 over 2 weeks. Going 1 for 2 on the power play, and then 1 for 2 on the penalty kill. They are now 26-4, and
Jesus Christ,
on the top of the Atlantic.
Yeah, they
shot up.
Yeah, they had like a pretty middling start to the season, and then they were just like, oh yeah, we're really good.
They're also doing this without Kucherov endpoint.
Yeah.
So
they're a very deep team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a possibility for a three-peat. Again,
We'll
I don't
see.
think it's going to happen personally, but possibility. Another team who's doing very well is Toronto.
Yeah.
They only had 1 game. 1 of 4 games.
A lot of the Canadian teams, Canada was like, no.
We're shutting this down.
Yeah.
So, 1 of their 4 games, they played Edmonton, destroyed them.
What was the score?
5-1.
Oh, nice. I always like seeing Edmonton.
Yes. Campbell had...
Sorry, Oilers fans.
I'm indifferent.
I don't hate them. It's just...
Campbell had saved 35 of 36 shots.
It's pretty good.
1 for 3 on the power play, 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. I mean, Austin Matthews had 2 goals in that game. So, they are 28-2. So, they're right there with Tampa.
Oh, yeah. They're right behind Tampa.
But yeah, that's the Atlantic.
That's the Atlantic. Well, let's mosey on over to the other Eastern Conference.
Let's stay local.
Stay local. Let's talk about the Metro. Carolina only played 2 of their 4 games in Week 10 and did not play in Week 11. Nobody in the Metro played in Week 11. Though they did go 2-0 in those games, beating Detroit, beating LA, 3 for 6 on the power play, 6 for 6 on the penalty kill, 21-7-1 is their overall record. Carolina keeps rolling. We'll see if they can keep it up when the NHL restarts, I believe, tomorrow.
Yep.
Both Fost and Kotkaniemi had a goal and 3 assists in those 2 games.
Ooh.
Very good games for those 2 guys. They did have a lot of COVID as well, as did everyone else. Very good for Carolina. Carolina keeps trudging along.
They're the best team in hockey right now.
They are. Let's talk about a team that's really fallen back down to earth from a fairly auspicious start to now probably where we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
Columbus was 0-2 in the 2 of the 3 games that they played this week. Their game against Calgary, like I said, got postponed, like most games against Calgary did. But they lost to Vancouver and lost to Edmonton. 0-2. 0-4 on the power play. 4-7 on the penalty kill.
Ooh, that needs to be better.
Their overall record is 14-13-1.
They're 500.
That's true. They are. But this was a team that I believe started like 7-2 or something like that. So, not great. The last several weeks for Columbus has been we're not terrible, but not as good as our record was.
Their offense is the problem.
Yeah.
Their defense is playing really well.
Yeah.
Even after losing Seth Jones, and their goalies are playing very well.
But
they're not scoring.
It's just they're just not scoring at all. Speaking of a team that probably wished some of their games had been postponed, the New Jersey Devils played all 4 of their games in Week 10 and lost every single one of them in regulation.
Oof.
They lost to Philadelphia, lost to Vegas, lost to Detroit, and lost to Pittsburgh. 0-4 this week, 2-14 on the power play.
Oof.
Not great. 8-9 on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Overall record 10-15-5. That's probably where we thought they were going to be.
Yes.
Maybe not quite that bad. That's 10 games under 500 now.
Yeah. I think they hope to
They've been dealing with some
injuries.
Jack Hughes was injured for a good portion of this season.
Yeah.
So far. I'm sure New Jersey thought that they would take a step and at least threaten a playoff spot, but it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. However, they are doing better than the New York Islanders.
Which is a surprise.
They played all 3 of their games in Week 10. They went 1-1-1. They lost to Detroit, as you mentioned before, did beat Boston, and then lost to Vegas in a shootout. Their overall record is a stunning 8-12-6.
Really?
Yeah. So they're actually pretty close to the bottom, too.
Yeah. Didn't realize that they were that down.
Well, some of their games got postponed because of COVID, so they haven't played, they've only played 26 games as opposed to, some other teams that have played 30 plus.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they've only won 8 games this year so far. It's really been a rough season for the Islanders.
Yeah.
2-9 on the power play, 5-7 on the penalty kill. Those numbers aren't horrible. But yeah, shocking that the Islanders are this low.
I
in the standings.
I haven't watched many Islanders games.
They're just
from what I've heard, they're looking slow.
Yeah, I mean, some of it has to do with the COVID stuff. They've had some injuries, but they just haven't been scoring, and that's the thing about the system that Trotz plays.
Yeah.
It's a very defense-first system, which is fine, but you do have to score sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things. Did you watch? Were you watching hockey in the early 2000s?
Honestly, I was not.
No,
it was on my radar, but it was at the end.
I don't remember everything about it, but I do remember that the New Jersey Devils were the most boring team to watch.
I know that, but
they were extremely successful.
Rules were changed because of them.
Yeah, because what they would do is they would basically score 1 goal, and then they would play the trap the rest of the game, which was successful for them, but so boring to watch, mind-numbingly boring to watch. And I don't think Trotz's system is like that, but it's not the most flashy system.
Right.
But you do have to get those goals, and they just have not been getting them. And you see what happens when you don't.
And also, you do. I think the Islanders has overall their average age is pretty high.
It's getting there. Clutterbuck, Martin, guys like that are up there in age.
Chara.
Oh, I forgot they have Chara. Wow, let's forget about Chara. He's gonna throw off anybody's age.
That's true, but he's also playing a lot of minutes, and
that's true.
And then guys really affecting them because
guys like Anders Lee isn't super young anymore. Same thing with that other guy. I can see his face. Bailey. Yeah, Josh Bailey.
Well, I know Barzell's young, but
Barzell is young, but they do have some young guys in there. But yeah, they're their big checking guys are getting up there in age. Martin, Clutterbuck, whoever else plays on that line. There's one other guy that plays on that those guys can be clutch sometimes, but nobody lasts forever
Mhm.
in this league. I guess unless your name is Alex Ovechkin, who keeps playing like he's 18. So
He's playing better than when he was 18.
well, maybe overall he is playing better.
Overall.
Yeah. So anyway, we can stop shitting on the Islanders. They're shockingly doing bad. That was the entire point.
I mean, a lot of people had them as a run for the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, if winning the division, making it to the Cup Finals. They've made 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Lost both to Tampa Bay, but they made it there with pretty impressive wins. They beat Pittsburgh. They beat Carolina. They beat They look good doing it, just not this year. It just kind of fell apart. I don't think Trotz gets fired or anything like that.
Not after this year.
I think they would probably be like, this year is an abnormal year.
I think they might.
We'll see.
I think he has a long leash this year. Next year,
if they do this again next year, I would maybe.
I also maybe if they're playing this bad next year, I don't see him surviving next year.
Yeah, but he's another guy somebody will hire almost immediately.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but it's just.
Yeah, we'll see. I think they just need more skill scoring.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. The reason he had so much success with Washington was because he had guys that would play defense, but also then on top of that, he had skill scorers like Ovi, like Backstrom. Backstrom plays defense too. I don't mean to say he doesn't, but Oshie, guys like that who can score.
Burakovsky,
yeah. But on the Islanders, he only has a couple of guys that are like that, and certainly nobody on Ovi's level or Backstrom's level. So we'll see. We'll see what they do.
The last 2 years, he was able to get to the conference finals without needing those types.
I will say, they're pretty low in the standings. I believe they have their first overall pick. They could get a pretty good player near the top of the draft. So, that would help a lot too.
100%.
And who knows? They might win the draft lottery, get that Shane Wright kid who's supposed to be very good. So that might solve a lot of their issues.
This is also apparently a very deep draft. So even if they don't get Shane Wright,
they could get
somebody.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the other New York team who's playing much better than the Islanders, and surprisingly so. Actually, their record's fairly surprising too.
Yes,
I think
I would agree.
We didn't think the Rangers were going to be quite this good. They did also go 1-1-1 this week. They played all 3 of their games. They lost to Colorado, beat Arizona, also lost to Vegas in a shootout. That's very weird. That both New York teams lost to Vegas in a shootout, but their overall record is 19-7-4.
Very good.
Very, very good record for the Rangers. We thought that, at the beginning of the year, I thought maybe they would fight for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
They're solidly in the top 3 of the division right now.
Yeah.
They're not that far behind Carolina. Excuse me.
They're 7 games back.
7 games back?
Wait, many wins does Carolina have?
21.
Oh, then my math.
Carolina, I believe, has 43 points. Rangers have 42 points. They're 1 point behind Carolina. Sorry, I had to do math there for a second. 3 for 7 on the power play, 8 for 9 on the penalty kill. Both pretty good.
Yeah.
Chris Kreider, 1 goal, 4 assists this week. So 1-1-1.
He's been very good.
Oh, Kreider's been great. I believe he's the captain, isn't he? Didn't they name him captain?
Yeah.
So leading by example. That's always what you want your captain to do.
This is his first year being there too.
Kreider? Kreider has played his entire career on the Rangers.
What?
I have no idea who you're thinking of.
Wasn't there a Kreider on Boston?
No.
Huh. Who am I thinking of?
Krejci.
Yes.
He's in Europe somewhere.
Huh.
It's okay.
I've gone this entire season thinking he just came from Boston.
Nope. Chris Kreider has played his entire career on the Rangers.
It shows how much attention I pay to the Rangers.
Should pay attention to them more. They're doing pretty well this year. Oh, shit. I didn't write down Philly's overall record. Oh, well. We'll talk about it when we get to the standings. It's not great, but they had a good week in Week 10. 2-0-1 was Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
They beat New Jersey, lost to Montreal in a shootout. That's not great. But then they beat Ottawa in overtime. Hold on, I'm just going to pull up the standings so I can look at their record. They are 12-12-5 overall. That's not great.
Nope.
It's not awful, but that's not where anybody thought Philly was going to be this year. They're still within spitting distance of a wild card spot, but they really dug themselves a hole with that. What was it, 10-game losing streak?
Maybe 11.
Maybe I think 11 was the Islanders.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to say Philly was 10. Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, maybe they can dig themselves out. But
then they have to climb
rough.
over a bunch of teams.
Yeah, there's several teams ahead of them. Yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about the standings later. 0 for 4 on the power play. They only have 4 power plays in 3 games. That's real strange. 7 for 7 on the penalty kill, though.
That's good.
Cam Atkinson had a good week. 3 goals, 2 assists. Pretty good. That's what they got him for, score. So he did that this week. So, yeah, that's Philly. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins. The Penguins were 3-0 in Week 10. All of their games in Week 11 got postponed. And I believe that is 7 games in a row that they have won. And now they're at a 4-game in a row postponement streak. So that's pretty cool, too.
That is cool. There's one team that beats them.
COVID. They beat Montreal, beat Buffalo in overtime, and beat New Jersey. They were 2 for 11 on the power play, 9 for 10 on the penalty kill. 17, 8, and 5 overall. So they were a team that started off kind of like crappily.
Yeah.
And they have strung together a couple of winning streaks. This one's 7 games. I think they had another winning streak of like 4 or 5 games, and they're right back in it.
Philadelphia, this is how you climb.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't count Philly out just yet, but
I'm going to.
Tristan Jarry played all 3 of those games. 3-0, 197 goals against, 914 save percentage. That save percentage isn't as good, but still a good week for him. 3-0, having a good year. That Jarry. A little bit of news for the Penguins in a positive front. I believe today was tweeted out that both Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust practiced with the team in contact jerseys, so full participants in practice today. So Malkin might be back sooner rather than later, and same thing for Rust.
It's just obnoxious.
Well, let's talk about Washington, who went 1-1-1 this week.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Chicago in overtime, like I mentioned before. They beat Winnipeg, and then they lost to LA. In that Chicago game, their only power play goal this week, they were 1 for 11, but that power play goal was historic because Alex Ovechkin tied Dave Andreychuk, I believe, for first overall in power play goals in career.
Yep.
So he's got 1 more to go. He'll definitely get that within the next couple of games, probably, because he's a master on the power play. But, congrats, Ovi. He's just racking up the records. He'll have this one, and in a few years, who knows, might have the overall goals record. 1 for 11 on the power play, like I said. 9 for 13 on the penalty kill. Not nearly as good. 1 for 11 is not very good either.
Well, their power play's been bad. 2 weeks now.
Washington slipped a little bit. Their overall record is 18-6-7. Not terrible. But Pittsburgh right in the rearview mirror.
They have not won a game in overtime.
Really?
They've won a couple of shootout. They got a couple of shootout wins, but
they have the 7 overtime losses. Well, that includes shootouts too. But you get that loser point when you can.
Yeah,
but
most of the time it doesn't get to a shootout with Washington this year.
Gotcha.
So.
And honestly, in my opinion, it should never get to a shootout. They should just play 3-on-3 overtime until someone scores, because I don't think it'll take that long for somebody to score.
No.
I think
make it a 20-minute period.
Just make it infinite. Just make it infinite. Somebody will score because they'll get tired, and then the other team will score, and the game's over.
Everyone will be tired,
and then that's an extra goal for whoever scores it. I hate the shootout. I hate it so much. Anyway, tell me about the Pacific Division.
I'll tell you about the Pacific Division. First up is Anaheim. They played both of their games.
Another team that's doing surprisingly well.
You mean that their 17-9-6 record?
Yeah.
They beat Seattle. and then lost to Arizona in overtime. Excuse me.
That's that COVID.
Don't say that. 3
I
for
hope
7.
not. That means I would have to quarantine too.
3 for 7 on the power play. 6 for 8 on the penalty kill.
Pretty good.
And then
I can't believe Anaheim's doing as well as they
I
are.
had to look up this name because I'm just like my handwriting was nowhere.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I don't. Can I see the name? Where? Hampus?
Yes.
Oh, Hampus Lindholm?
Yes. I'm just like, there's no way Hampus is a first name.
Like Krampus.
Yes, it's a first name. It's that
Swedish, I think.
I've never seen the name Hampus before.
Oh, that's a pretty sweet name.
I don't dislike
it's like
it.
ham and pus.
Yeah, yes, okay. Good for you putting syllables together.
I'm so smart.
I'm just like, oh.
I'm a master wordsmith. I'll have you
I did not write this right. Oh, I did. Hampus Lindholm had 2 goals and an assist and 3 block shots, and Trevor Zegras had 2 goals and an assist.
That was a pretty good week.
So it's a very good week for those 2 guys in their 2 games. Next up is Calgary, who...
Did they play any games?
No.
Yeah.
COVID was their best player because they played 0 of 4 games in week 10, and then 0 of
Calgary
4.
was kind of the team that set off the NHL being like, maybe we should just take like a week off.
Yep. So yeah, they didn't play a single game over 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
rested.
Can't lose if you don't play.
Exactly.
That's some big brain strategy right there.
Completely didn't look up the record.
That's fine. Well, yeah, we'll talk. They have a pretty good record.
It's been good. Edmonton is up next. They're brothers in Alberta.
Yeah.
2-1.
Oh, that's better than they had been doing.
Sorry, brain fart. Played all 3 of their games.
Happens to me a lot too.
They're 18-11.
I can't believe they haven't lost in overtime. Well, I guess I can.
They're not the only team who hasn't done that.
Oh, Vegas too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can believe they haven't lost in overtime because if you give McDavid and Draisaitl that much space, I can't imagine they're not going to score.
Like I said, they destroyed Toronto.
Right.
No, sorry.
They
got destroyed by Toronto.
Yeah.
And then beat Columbus and Seattle. 3 for 9 on the power play.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. 6 for 7 on the penalty kill. Very good. McDavid, of course, is going to be your player with 1 goal and 3 assists.
It's a pretty good week. Well, a lot of people, because they had a
losing streak.
They had a losing streak. It wasn't like a tremendous losing streak, but it was like 5 or 6 games, something like that. But people pointed out that in those losing efforts, they weren't scoring on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a lot of people be like, "Oh, it's almost like that unsustainable power play can't win you every single game."
Yep.
And you're coming back down to earth, and again, it's once again Edmonton. Shut up, phone. Once again, Edmonton's depth is coming into question.
Yes,
but they went 2-1 this past week. So.
I mean, the one that they lost, they didn't score power play on. Exactly.
Just silence my phone.
Scored 2 power plays against Columbus and 1 against Seattle. So
that ain't gonna cut it for the entire season. I mean, I still think they'll probably. Yeah, we'll get to the standings later.
Especially when you get to the playoffs and the refs swallow.
And they're just like, we're not gonna call any penalties. It's stupid.
I'm not disagreeing. Los Angeles played all 4 of their games in week 10.
Good for them.
Going 2-1-1.
Good for them.
Bringing their record to 14-11-5.
They're another team that is doing pretty okay.
Better than we thought.
Yeah.
Losing to Tampa in overtime, beating Florida bad, losing to Carolina bad. Again, everyone is, and then beating Washington, as we've all talked about. Matt Roy is their best player this week, and this one is Roy.
It is Roy.
4 goals.
How many guys with that name are there in the league? Because there's Nicholas Roy too. Who, right?
I think so.
I think he's on Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just weird. And then there was a guy in the Hall of Fame named Wah, but it's spelled the exact same way.
And there's a guy named Wah in the league as well.
Is there?
Yeah.
It's so confusing.
He might be on Vegas.
Maybe.
It's Wah on Vegas.
Nicholas Wah
on
Vegas. There's another guy named Roy somewhere. Anyway, I digress.
4 assists, 10 hits, 11 block shots.
Pretty good.
That's great for a defender. That's what you want for a defender.
Yeah.
1 for 11 on the power play. But 16 for 18 on the penalty kill.
That's pretty good. That's a lot of penalties.
Yeah, don't be taking them penalties.
That's a lot of penalties. You said they played 4 games?
Yes, they played 4 games. It's still a lot.
It's almost 5 penalties a game. Not great.
Yeah.
But we killed most of them.
San Jose played both of their games.
All right.
Going 0 for 2.
Oh.
Yeah. Losing to Vegas. Not Vegas. Seattle and Vancouver. Going 0 for 2 on the power plays. 2 for 3 on the penalty kills. Their record is 15-14-1.
Another team that is doing all of the California teams are doing better than we thought they were going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we said we thought the Kings were going to be the best of the 3 of them, and they were only going to be like okay. But so I guess maybe the Kings are doing around where we thought, but the other 2 certainly are not.
Yeah, the Ducks
doing much better.
And San Jose are doing way better than we thought they were going to do.
Hell yeah. Batman. What?
Thought you were cool, Batman.
Thought you were cool, Batman.
Seattle's up next, playing 3 of their 4 games.
Okay.
Going 2-1.
Hey, winning week.
Winning week. Their overall record is 10-17-3. Now.
Yeah. But that's kind
growing pains.
I think it's their first year in the league.
Again, mentioned that they just lost to they beat San Jose.
The fact that it's their first year in the league and they're still doing better than like 5 other teams.
Lost to Anaheim. Lost to Edmonton.
Right.
All said that. The goalies are back to doing bad.
That might just be a roller coaster this season.
They had 2 good weeks of goalies.
Yeah.
And it looks like Grubauer was hurt a little bit.
Bummer. But he had like a week and a half off, so hopefully he's better.
1 for 5 on the power play. 3 for 5 on the penalty kill.
Ooh, that penalty kill. Yeah. That's bad.
Donato had 3 goals.
He's been good for them.
Mm-hmm.
He's been good for them. He's a guy that's bounced around the league. I believe he played for both Minnesota and Boston, and maybe Florida too. And
I couldn't tell you.
I think. And I just remember the name because it's a distinctive name.
Yeah.
And but he's on pace for like 30 goals or something like that for them this year. So good on him.
Yeah, no, he's doing very well.
Did you see that Brandon Tanev apparently tore his ACL?
Yes. Which
that sucks.
Everyone in Seattle is upset.
I'm upset. I love Brandon Tanev. He's a very likable man.
Everyone in Seattle loves Brandon Tanev.
No, he's a great guy.
Like,
he's very funny.
The energy that he brings on the ice as well.
His headshots.
It looks like he saw a ghost.
Yeah, that sucks. He's out for the season.
Yes, he is.
ACL tear.
And that's definitely going to be hard for Seattle.
Bummer.
Vancouver's up next.
Vancouver.
They played 2 of their 4 games.
Oh, I forgot. They're doing super good.
They've won 6 straight since Boudreau's taken charge.
Barbecue Bruce, baby. Brucey boy. The savior.
The Blue Jackets and the Sharks.
That's fine. Good for them.
Yeah, 6 straight.
Hell yeah.
And then COVID has stopped them.
Right. COVID stopped everybody.
But 2 for 5 on the power play.
That's not bad.
2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Remember how bad their special teams was?
It was like
this is great.
Bad. Yeah, that's right. It was
great.
like at 60% or something for the season.
64% after 25 games is historically bad.
Look what happens when you switch coaches sometimes because they must have hated Travis Green.
They did.
They must have hated him.
When they lost to Boston, I think. Travis Green left and all the players stayed.
Yeah.
They were done with him. They are now 14, 15, and 2.
Hey, look at that.
They spun that right around.
Look at that. Look at what a 6-game winning streak can do. All of a sudden, your season's not looking that bad. What did you say, 14, 15, and 2?
Yeah.
They're over. They're just under 500, but they're getting there. They're getting
close.
back into it.
Mm-hmm. I think they're not going to push. I don't think they're going to push for the playoffs.
No, probably not. But hey, their season has become more respectable now.
Mm-hmm. And then last up is Vegas.
Last but not least,
they played all 4 games, winning all of them.
Wow.
They're coming back with.
Oh yeah.
Can you bring up?
Sure.
I cannot read how many losses. It looks like a 12.
Yep.
Aha, 20 and 12.
20 and 12. If only we could go back
great.
to 2012.
Oh.
Just warn our past selves.
Beating Boston, the Devils, the Rangers, and the Islanders.
Very good week for Vegas.
And then Marcia Shaw had 3 goals and an assist. 3 for 7 on the power play. 5 for 9 on the penalty kill, which isn't as good. And again, they did play in week 11, losing to Tampa. Right. So that 12 was because of the Tampa loss.
Yeah.
And I just wrote over the 11. That's why I can't read it. Got it. Again, 1 for 2 on both the power play and the penalty kill. So
nice.
That's the schedules.
Nice. That's what happened the last 2 weeks. So we thought it would be
quick before we go into playoffs. Another news that happened over the past 2 weeks is the NHL is not going to the Olympics.
Oh yes, I nearly forgot. It's probably the right call.
Oh, it's 100% the right call.
Yeah, because I think what it is.
They should not be doing the Olympics.
No, they should not. The thing with Omicron is it maybe isn't quite as serious as the other strains, but it's far more contagious. And but I think a part of it is that China has said that if you come to the Olympics, where China is where the Olympics is happening, if you come to the Olympics and you get COVID there, you have to stay there for 5 weeks.
3 weeks minimum, up to 5 weeks in a hospital.
And I don't think the NHL wants any of that.
Most of the players are just like, nah, let's not do this.
There's some players that are like, well, it's stupid, we should still go. But I'm like, I bet the vast majority of them will be like, no, I don't want to stay in a foreign country for 5 weeks.
I wonder what the Capitals are going to do with Alex Ovechkin being gone, still playing in the Olympics somehow.
There is some... Well, I haven't seen any Russian players come out and say that they're still going to the Olympics. I remember this was a threat in 2018 as well, and none of them did. So I did see somebody be like, an NHL official was asked if they were worried about the Russian players kind of almost defecting and going to the Olympics, and they were like, no. So we'll see. The Russian players are the only ones I'm worried about being like, fuck you guys, and going to the Olympics anyway. But we'll see. Hopefully, Panarin's not going to go. I can tell you that much.
Ovechkin can do whatever he wants.
Personally, that's fine. I don't think Malkin would go.
No,
I don't think he's a big fan of
the regime.
The regime in Russia either. That's just me speculating. No Russian spies that are listening to this, don't take that as fact. I know you're listening. I've seen you, Ivan. But yeah, we'll see. They're the only ones that anybody has a question of like going. So I guess they'll send AHL players. I don't.
Or European players.
Or like college players where the NHL doesn't give a fuck about them. I don't know.
There's a bunch of
I think it's also an insurance thing too.
There's a bunch of non-AHL players, NHL players that are just like, I'll go.
Yeah.
For Canada.
Well, Canada is like a team that could probably field 3 teams in the Olympics and probably still be competitive. So unfortunately that sucks because I like international hockey, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I don't think anybody wants to be stuck in another country for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Or regardless of what country that is.
Or play the other. Well, it's just not for 5 weeks. It's in the hospital room.
Yeah. Isolated for 5 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's,
away from your family, away from everybody.
And you could go almost that entire hockey Olympic span. Yeah. And then catch it at the end, and then you're there an extra time, and that's what players don't want to do. Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter what country it is. I don't want to be stuck in a foreign country for 5+ weeks.
Not
so that sucks, but it's probably for the best. Another bit of information coming out of this COVID/Christmas break, the NHL and the NHLPA has modified the CBA. They agreed to do that.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
So basically what they're going to do is they're going to have taxi squads like they did last year to try to not have any more shutdowns like this.
Someone just had to do that. Washington just had to utilize that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I forget how many players it's going to be, but it's to ensure, hopefully, that every team can field a team for every game.
Yeah, Washington just brought up Kempney and Copley because they have 4 defenders on with COVID.
Yeah.
And Vanacek has COVID. So, and they play tomorrow.
So, a few more, I think 6 more games got postponed, but they said that the rest of the games for tomorrow, the 28th, are on.
Yep.
Those games are on. I know Pittsburgh's next couple of games got postponed because Pittsburgh has like 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah.
That have COVID, and I think they were supposed to go to Canada too.
That's probably why
that might still be a little dicey.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just one game for Pittsburgh. It was the Toronto game.
Either way.
So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully that alleviates the shutdown. Hopefully there's not another shutdown.
Well,
or postponement.
So there's
another
3
thing.
Weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 weeks that the NHLers were going to be gone. There's a good chance.
Yeah, they could use those.
They could use those to fill postponed games. But I think a lot of arenas filled
that's the
slots.
thing, is the arenas already filled those time slots with other events, so they might have to go play somewhere that they can't have people, like
Winter Classics.
Maybe something like that. Maybe something like I don't know. Say it's Pittsburgh and Washington have to play a game in those 3 weeks, but they can't play at either one of their arenas. They might have to go play at like Penn State or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. They'll cross that bridge when they get to it.
Yep.
Or they might have to play at like really strange times. Like they can play a game, but the game has to start at like 8 a.m.
Or
something like
game.
that. Yeah. That would be interesting.
That'd be fun.
Actually,
Yeah,
that would actually
I
be
would
kind
like
of fun.
that.
I would listen to it at work. There was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, I'm sure it'll come to me. But yeah, so I remember with the taxi squads, there's some cap exemption with it as well, where guys on the taxi squad I don't think count against the cap. It's just so that they can play the games.
Yep.
So that's what it was. The CDC also announced today that if you test positive for COVID, but are asymptomatic, they have dropped down the isolation suggestion from 10 days to 5 days.
Oh, okay.
So I believe, if I read it correctly, it was 5 days isolation, followed by 5 days just wearing a mask around other people. So that might help too. That'll definitely help a lot too. So let's take a look at how the playoffs are looking right now. So let's start with the Eastern Conference. And so we'll start with I guess we'll just look at the Metro Division first. The top of the division is obviously Carolina, followed Carolina with 43 points, 21-7-1, followed by Washington, who also has 43 points, but Carolina has 2 games in hand on Washington.
Yep, and I mean they have the tiebreaker of regulation wins.
Oh yeah, by a lot actually. Yeah. Yeah. So that could mean nothing if Carolina loses a couple of games. I mean, Washington's right there. Yeah.
You gotta win those.
You gotta win those games that you have in hand.
The Rangers are in 3rd place with 42 points.
Yeah. Here, I can make this a little bit bigger.
No, I just had to look.
Oh, why is it at 80% anyway? There, that's better.
So yeah, that's your top 3 of the Metro. Your top 3 of the Atlantic are Tampa Bay with 44 points, Toronto with 42 points, and then Florida with 40 points.
And Florida has a game in hand on both Tampa and Toronto.
Right. So
they could be right there. Toronto has the tiebreaker anyway, but Florida's right there.
The way that the playoffs work is for each division, each conference, the top 3 from each division go.
Yes.
And then you get the next 3 or 2?
2.
Next 2 wild cards. It's the best overall record.
Yeah.
After that.
Then the rest is just whoever has the best record out of everybody else. So right now, as it stands, that is Pittsburgh and Detroit. Pittsburgh is well ahead of Detroit at this point with 39 points. They're actually fairly close to the rest of the Metro Division right now. And
Detroit has 33
Detroit
points.
has 33 points. So Pittsburgh Pittsburgh also has a game in hand on Detroit as well. So Pittsburgh's got that number one wild card spot kind of in a stranglehold right now.
Yep.
So if they keep playing the way they've been playing, I mean, they might even jump up into the top three of the Metro too.
Yes.
But
Detroit has 33, like we said, but
yes.
right behind them is Boston, Columbus, and Philadelphia.
All with 20. Well, Boston with 30 points.
And 4 games in hand.
And 5 games in hand. And then Columbus and Philadelphia both have 29 points. Columbus has 3 games in hand on Detroit. And Philadelphia has 2 games in hand on Detroit. And I guess I'll say, if you don't know what we mean by games in hand, that just means that Detroit has played 31 games. Boston has played 26 games.
Yes.
So Boston has a lot more opportunity to make up points on Detroit because they have played 5 games less. So in case you didn't know, that's what 5 games in hand means.
Yes. So again, Boston has to win those.
Yeah, of course.
But
those don't mean anything if you lose them.
You can easily see them taking that wild card spot.
Yeah, Boston's... Play some games, Boston. God damn. You only played 26 games.
Look at the Islanders.
I suppose the Islanders have only played 26 games too. But
those... So there's a chance that Detroit could fall out of that spot.
Yeah, Boston could very easily catch right up.
And if you...
sure, go back up.
You could even kind of see them...
Oh, yeah,
possibility of catching Florida.
Well, they only have 3 games in hand on Florida. Maybe. But there's still plenty of hockey to play, too.
That's what I mean. Pushing them. If Boston starts playing well...
Most teams have 50-plus games left in the season.
And Florida's been a little streaky.
Yeah.
They've played really well, and they've played really poor. So if they get back on the horse, they're fine.
No, you're right.
But Boston could even hunt for
Boston could sneak up into the top of the Atlantic Division. They have that many games in hand on some teams.
Yeah.
Let's just for fun, look at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Again, shockingly, the Islanders down there with 22 points in third to last. Man, only 26 games though. Ottawa 20 points and Montreal 17.
Oof.
Yeah, Montreal is down there. Montreal has played 31 games too, so they're
just bad.
They're bad. They're in real bad. Their goal differential is minus 42.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
They've had some bad.
They've won game winning streak though. All right, let's.
You gotta win one to start the streak.
Exactly. Let's flip over to the Western Conference, starting with the Central Division. Minnesota is reigning atop the Central right now with 40 points. But right behind them, 1 point behind them, is Nashville with 39. St. Louis also has 39. However, Minnesota and Nashville both have a game in hand on St. Louis.
With the Pacific, the top 3 are Vegas with 40 points, Anaheim also with 40 points.
With 40 points, yeah.
And then Calgary with 36.
Yeah, I know Calgary still had a pretty good record.
That was 15, 7, and 6.
Yes.
I didn't write that down. It is.
So the reason Vegas has the number 1 seed right now because they have the first tiebreaker over, which I believe is
wins in regulation.
Is it this one? I don't know anymore. Anyway, there's several different tiebreakers. One of them is regulation wins. Another one is regulation overtime wins.
I think it's also the fact they don't have any overtime losses.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Well, they have more wins in general than Anaheim as well. But Anaheim's keeping up with Vegas. I mean, they're pretty solidly in the playoffs right now. Who's the closest to them? I guess Edmonton isn't that far back, but the 2 wildcard teams in the Western Conference right now are Colorado and Edmonton. Both of them
have 36
points. Colorado has the top wildcard spot because they actually have 2 games in hand on Edmonton. Colorado's played 27. Edmonton has played 29. So yeah.
And the teams hunting for that second wildcard spot are Winnipeg and Los Angeles, both with 33 points.
Yeah, they're not that far back. Dallas actually isn't that far back either with 32.
But Colorado and Edmonton both have games in hand.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they do.
Colorado has 3 games in hand on Winnipeg.
Colorado's games in hand on all of those teams.
Yeah. So.
But Edmonton is within Striking distance,
Heck,
3
even
points, 4
Vancouver-
points.
Vancouver's
Vancouver
in
and San
striking
Jose are actually not that far back either.
because they have 30, so they're
So
only
5 and 6 points back, respectively.
So
You can make that up faster than you might think, as well, if Edmonton has another losing streak like they had.
especially if you take games on them yourself.
Yeah. So actually, tighter in the Western Conference than.
Actually, go back down
Sure.
because Calgary and Edmonton are tied.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
So
but Calgary has a game in hand.
That third spot
That third
and the
spot's up
second
for
wild
grabs
card
too.
spot
Yeah.
in the Pacific are the same. So
Well, let's see. Calgary is in third with 36.
Yep.
Edmonton also has 36, but then we have LA with 33, San Jose 31,
Yeah.
Vancouver with 30. 6 points separate all of those teams overall. So that could be really fun to watch heading down the stretch of the season. Which, I mean, we're not even halfway through the season yet. So
Calgary has to not slip, basically.
once they come back and actually play games, hopefully they can hold on.
It's amazing that they have 28 games played, and they were supposed to play 4 last week.
They should have had the same amount of games as Vegas and Anaheim.
4 2 weeks ago.
You're right. And who knows how many last week. But at the bottom of this division is Arizona with 14 points.
And then Seattle
And then
with
Seattle with
23.
23. So Seattle's actually cleared pretty far.
So they're... Go back up to the
True. Seattle's only...
Atlantic.
Where are we going?
To the bottom of the Atlantic.
Oh, bottom of the Eastern Conference.
Yes. So they...
So Seattle is actually better than 4 teams right now.
Yep.
And Montreal's actually a lot closer to Arizona than I thought. Montreal only has 3 points more than Arizona, which is shocking.
So that's the standings.
That's the standings right now. We'll
We can
we'll check in again in a couple of months.
see those wild cards change.
Maybe, I don't know. Pittsburgh, unless they fall off again, they got that number 1 wild card spot in the East kind of locked down. Unless they jump up to the Metro.
Right.
The Metro's solidly got 4 teams in the playoffs right now.
Yes.
But that second one is definitely within striking distance of at least 3 teams. And then Boston could jump up into the Atlantic. The Western Conference is going to be fun, though, because, I mean, both wildcard spots are not that far out from, Vancouver.
Is 7.
Vancouver's the farthest one down that's, reasonably within range. Only 6 points back of Colorado that has the number 1 wildcard spot, so that could be interesting going forward.
And that's 6 points back from the third spot in the Pacific.
That too, yeah. There's a lot of Pacific teams that could make a play at either wild card spots or top 3 in their division. And realistically, Vegas and Anaheim really aren't that far ahead.
No,
they're only 4 points ahead of Calgary and Edmonton, who are only the 2 of them 6 points ahead of Vegas, who is second to last in that division.
Vancouver.
You're right. I'm sorry, Vancouver. I saw a V and I was like, Vegas.
Yeah.
But, the Western Conference could be very fun, playoff-wise, as we go forward. But that's the standings.
That's the standings.
So,
that's all we have for this week.
That's all we have for this week. But, of course, we have our special guest to come in and talk about the mascots. The last time. We'll figure out something else for her to look at moving forward and judge in Jenny's opinion corner. But we're going to take a quick pause, and then Jenny will be here
right
with us. And we're back with Jenny. Here to look at the last set.
This is the one I've been most
mascots.
excited for.
Really? Why?
Yeah,
Really?
because it's all the teams I know the best.
Oh, that's fair. I will say the New York Rangers do not have a mascot and have
Because
never
they're the
had
worst
a mascot.
team in.
Which is super annoying. I don't
hockey.
know what their mascot would be. Maybe the Statue of Liberty. I'm not really sure. But
Yeah.
they don't have a mascot. Don't roll your eyes at me.
If they were smart, they would do a bald eagle. Everything else would be unacceptable.
Why?
Well, the Eagle is already
It's already
stolen.
taken.
Yeah,
Right.
by the Capitals. You'll see in a second.
Makes sense.
So, I went in
America. Yes, very good.
alphabetical order by team. So we're going to start with
Statue of Liberty.
the Carolina Hurricanes mascot, Stormy,
Freaking hate the Rangers. Oh,
who's a pig for some reason.
is that what that is?
That's
pretty
a pig.
sure it's
I
a
thought
That's
it
a
was
hog.
a rat.
I think it's
Nope.
a hog. Yeah,
It's a
or
hog.
a pig.
Out
That's
of
pigs.
respect for my friend who enjoys the Hurricanes.
They're playing really well this year. But this is right up there with the
it's
doof
just bad.
Real doofy.
I feel like I say that
hockey
every time one
mascots.
comes up. It's just bad.
You don't like mascots. We're learning.
No, I like mascots. I don't like.
She's right. I guess I've
professional
never
hockey.
really.
They're trash.
Hockey,
College
yeah.
mascots are so good. My high school mascot looked better than any of these.
The NHL mascots are actually not super good. After
No.
like going through this with
Yeah.
with Jenny, they're like real silly and stupid
Yes.
looking.
Like I don't know if that's on purpose. But
It
it's-
must be at this point for all of them to look like that. For all of them to
I
be
mean,
like
Yuppie.
a doofy Muppet looking.
Yuppie.
Yuppie is. I don't understand Yuppie.
This is a rat pig, is what this is.
This is
But
better
you've
than
got something
Yuppie.
in your teeth.
Don't pick
Get
Clay's
it.
teeth on the
Get
podcast.
it. Get it.
Do you want to be
It's
here?
between this tooth
Do you
and
want to
this
be here for the entire episode? I think it would be pretty funny actually if you were just here for the entire episode.
You need a third microphone.
I could get one.
Okay.
I can get one.
Yeah, but I'd get like bored halfway through, and then just
Probably.
start talking.
Probably.
And it would
It'd be
derail,
funny.
And,
Yeah.
And then the episodes
people
would be
that
like 4 hours
listen for
long.
the hockey would be like, can someone please take this person
Yeah,
away?
all like dozen of them.
Yeah.
So funny.
Well, listen.
Literally doesn't.
I just found you another listener. You're welcome.
There are scores of us, tens of us.
All right, go to the next.
Anyway, who was next? Oh, next up is the Columbus Blue Jackets
I
mascot,
like Columbus.
Stinger.
No, I don't hate that.
What?
Don't
You
look
don't?
at those eyes.
Yeah, they're not great.
Those are horrifying.
I like it. I like the use of the hockey stick.
I do like that.
As their
I like
antenna.
it when
Hockey sticks are
I
his
like when they
antennas.
include the hockey stick in a creative way.
They're the Blue Jackets.
And it's
You're Union soldiers in the Civil War, and you
But he's
end
a-
up with a bug.
But it's like Yellow Jackets. That's the point.
Then don't make them green.
Yeah, I guess that's
he
fair.
is
He
bright
is
green.
And his
With
feet.
yellow and blue
And his
feet.
feet are yellow and blue.
Oh,
With bright red eyes.
whoever came up with this color scheme should be shot.
That's not a good color.
Shot on sight.
You like it less
out,
now?
out of the cannon
Listen,
that they have.
It
Yes,
is-
they have a cannon.
It looks more professionally done, but the color scheme is tragic.
Those eyes are terrifying.
But it looks
It
more
doesn't look-
professionally done.
Not more than
I
what we
think
just
so.
saw.
I'm sorry.
I don't
Did you
think
see the
so.
rat pig? Because
I
this is
saw-
much more professionally done
I
than the rat pig.
disagree.
This is not
I don't
something I could
agree
find
either.
at Build-A-Bear.
This
This
is
is a
the
higher
equal-
caliber
I think this
than
is
I
equal.
could find
This
at
is
Build-A-Bear.
equal.
I think it's at
Well,
least
it's
equal.
not your opinion that matters here, is it? It's mine.
All right, so
Oh,
that's a
man.
thumbs up for Stinger.
It's a thumbs in the middle. It's a thumbs in the middle.
All
Good
right,
design, terrible color scheme.
I don't remember who's next. Oh, I think it's the Devils. Yeah,
And it's a devil.
it's
Listen,
just the New
I'll
Jersey
take
Devil.
it.
Yeah, it's
That
just,
is-
he's just straight up a generic devil.
he's Italian for some reason. The
I
other
don't
one,
know that he's
Look
Italian.
at that goatee
look at
and
the
mustache.
eyebrows. They're two different shapes. They're two different
Oh
lengths.
no, I think this is his hairline because look, it comes. I think this is
Oh.
just blurring into his hairline
What happened?
to the
Something
to the
just
thing.
happened.
No, don't worry about it.
It's
hello?
okay. Our headphone connections
Testing.
are kind of weird.
Great. Yeah, no,
Um,
I give
Yeah,
him an
he's
A+.
just he's just kind of he's on
This is stressful.
he's just kind of on brand. He is a devil.
I think he's great, and I like that he's Italian. It's very Joycey
I
of
don't
him.
know that he's
He
Italian.
is. Look at his mustache. Give
And
me
goatee.
another person that gives me that
Spanish
mustache.
guys have those mustaches,
No,
like
he's
from
Italian.
Spain.
No, he's Italian. He's from New
All right.
Jersey. He's clearly Italian.
All right. Well, he's from hell technically because he's a devil.
So he's Italian.
All right. All right.
Just
all
kidding.
right. All right.
There's
Jeez, those are Jenny's views, not Clay and myself.
I love.
Let's move on to. I think the
Pasta.
most. Let's move on. Stop it. Let's move on to the. I believe the most confusing mascot in this grouping, Sparky the Dragon, who is the Islanders mascot. I don't know why he's a dragon.
Why do they have a dragon?
Why don't they just have a fisherman?
He
They-
also
they
looks
had
a
a
little
fisherman.
bit more professionally done, I will say. So he
He
gets
look-
points
yeah.
for. Honestly, if they were like
He doesn't
the
look bad.
like the Long Island
Dragons.
dragons,
yeah.
I was gonna say devils. Oh boy, the Long Island dragons. I would say this is great.
Yeah, I just don't get why he's a
But,
dragon.
Yeah, it's confusing.
I like
A
his
fisherman
color
would be
scheme.
so easy.
Yeah.
You know,
They did
because
that.
that's like
They
one of their
had that
logos
logo
is
for-
fisherman. Yeah, but
It was a cursed logo. They got rid of that fast.
Well,
Is it?
I like him.
Okay. Well, let's move on to. I'm gonna guess somebody that you don't like, but it's my hometown mascot, Iceberg, the Pittsburgh Penguins mascot.
It's the doofiest.
They hired a Muppet to
Yeah.
play their
He
mascot.
does kind of look
He
like a
looks just
Muppet.
like a
Yeah, he
Muppet.
looks just like a Muppet.
He looks like Kermit is like dressed up as a penguin. Which is exactly what that is.
Yeah, I was thinking of that when I was pulling up these pictures too. I was like, he really looks like a Muppet.
He
Mhm.
looks like Kermit.
Yeah.
I think that Sesame Street should sue. No, Sesame Street.
the
The
Muppets,
Muppets.
yeah.
They should sue.
Well, they
the
already
Henson
have.
Company.
They have one already. Yuppie is a Muppet.
Oh, that's true. He is. Yeah, he was designed by
Yeah.
somebody who worked for the Jim Henson Company. Anyway, I will
Why
say
is his face yellow?
it's his beak.
That's his beak.
It's his
Why
beak.
is it like...
I don't know, to match the color scheme. He's like an emperor penguin. Look, there's orange back here, like
It's
this.
just not very... It doesn't look like a penguin. So,
It's whatever.
I don't...
He has the distinction of being one of the only NHL mascots to be in a action movie with RVD. No, not RVD. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep.
Not Rob Van Dam, the wrestler. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Where
they
it
kill
happened
him?
in Pittsburgh. Yeah, there's a fight scene with Iceberg where
Yeah.
Jean-Claude
legs
Van
are
Damme
too
beats him
long.
up.
Because
He's
he's
like
a
a
person.
Yeah, but they could have had the
person.
suit go down so it looked like a penguin.
He needs to not die on the
Yeah.
ice.
And then he also
It's
has...
true.
Says who? And they also... His
It's
head
the
looks
safety
terrible.
committee. I think he suffers as like this is just like a pretty old mascot,
Yeah.
and they just really haven't changed
Oh, he
it.
definitely suffers.
So wow. Anyway, how dare you? Let's move on to Slapshot.
Great. Best one.
Wow. Excuse me. The next one is the best one, probably.
Yeah, you skipped a
Slapshot,
couple.
just an eagle. I only skipped one, and I saved him for last.
Yeah, I know you did.
He's an eagle. Makes sense for the Capitals. Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I like his little booties.
I didn't realize how good Slapshot was compared to a bunch of mascots.
Compared to like the Calgary Flames mascot.
Yeah,
he looks
no.
like such a bro.
He does
Look at
kind of
those
look. He
ripped
does kind of look like a bro.
jeans. I can't.
Oh, he does have ripped jeans.
No,
he has
there's
like
feathers
like-
coming out.
He has-
He's jorts.
He has
on.
jorts on. Look at their jorts.
There are feathers coming out the jorts.
But not out the socks? There's just a random gap between the leggings and the jorts?
He's a bird. He has feathers all over him. Maybe it's just
He
the
pulled
maybe the
up the
socks
socks,
just go up to his knee.
and then the feathers come out the bottom of the pants.
It's a sexy look.
He looks like every lacrosse player I've ever met.
Well, that's fair.
So,
Except an eagle.
he's an eagle version of every
He's an
lacrosse player
eagle
I've ever
lacrosse
met.
player. And then
He is an
finally,
eagle lacrosse player.
and finally, the piece de resistance, the mascot that is from Nightmares, who definitely does meth outside of the Wells Fargo Center, Gritty.
Yep.
Who is just
Those eyes are
an evil
goofy.
Muppet. His eyes are humongous.
You forget I used to live near Philly.
No, I know
so I've
you've seen him.
this
I know you've seen him
monster
before.
creature before.
I know you've seen him before, but like, is he the best mascot?
Wasn't he on Queer Eye?
Was he?
I think
Yes.
that makes him the best mascot.
That's
Yes, he was.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I
The fact that I think they gave him a wardrobe. Like I think they did like a mini like
So-
Queer Eye on Gritty.
Yes, they did.
Which
they've
makes
really
him the best mascot
With the
in
Philly
my opinion.
Fanatic as well.
even what?
The Philly Fanatic was part of that like
Oh, really?
little thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a great episode because they did a whole season in Philly. So they like.
I will say,
I wonder if they enjoyed that.
As
or
much
they were
as-
horrified the whole time.
as much as my team is a rival of the Flyers, I will give them credit. I think Gritty is the best mascot in the league
He
because
also looks like a Muppet.
they lean into the insanity that
Oh,
is
there's
him.
Philly.
It's
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Of course, they lean into the insanity.
Because he's just like he hides around corners and shit,
hmm
and just
Oh,
look at those
also,
eyes.
He's
I would
back.
like to give a PSA. The new season of Queer Eye comes out this week.
This isn't that podcast. This is
Very
a hockey
important
podcast.
to me.
This is a
and
hockey
you
podcast.
had me on. I'm allowed to say what I want. And I just saw that it's coming out this week, and now I'm very excited. And if anyone on that show hears this, call me. I'd love you. Come to Connecticut, please.
Oh my god! Come to me.
Come to me.
Oh, all right.
Well, that's the
Come
mascots.
redo
That's
my
all
house.
of them. That's all the mascots.
Give me a new
Come
wardrobe.
redo my condo.
I just love them so much. I will even just take like a 5-minute meet and greet. I just love
All right,
them.
we gotta wrap this up.
Listen.
Otherwise, it's next 30
When
minutes.
you guys get huge, this could be
Oh,
heard
yeah.
by them.
Oh,
And
we're
so I
gonna-
need to
we're
shoot
gonna
every
be
shot.
so
Pick
good.
up. Who was I calling out to last week? Oh, My Favorite Murder.
Yeah.
Karen Kilgariff.
I love her so much.
I love her too, but
Uh,
she's not going to listen to a hockey
Listen,
podcast.
maybe Vince
Vince.
will. I don't know why I call him Vance. Maybe Vince
Shout out
will.
Vance from Vance. Vance
You know what your
Refrigerators.
last name is? It's Vince. Your first
It's
name.
his first name.
Yeah, you're done.
Let's wrap this up.
Yep.
I
Thank you for being here.
Had a
Thank you
whole
for
fighter.
being here. We'll figure out something else for you to look at. Maybe logos. Maybe like old logos.
Sure.
I don't know.
Ooh,
We'll see.
let's show the old Blackhawks ones from the 40s.
everyone's like, please never bring her back.
Nah, I
She
think
goes
it's fun.
off
I think
topic.
you're fun.
That's because you're my friend.
Well, it's my podcast, so.
Alright, like and subscribe.
Like,
us a-
share, subscribe,
Give us a review.
comment,
Follow us on Twitter.
listen,
Please listen. Make your friends listen.
tell your friends. I tell my friends.
Yeah. So why don't you tell your friends, person listening? Huh? Clay? You've been lacking in that too. I'll
I
call
have
you
been.
out on air.
Not lacking, slacking.
Oh my goodness.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Jenny, thank you for being here as
Always.
always. Clay, love you.
Wait, so do I get
What?
to pick my favorite mascot out of all of them?
Sure.
I
Who's your
don't
favorite
remember.
mascot?
Wasn't there a whale? That was horrifying.
The Vancouver Canucks
Yeah.
one.
I like this whole. I like the devil. He was very on brand. I liked.
Don't call him Italian again.
I'm not. I have no. Listen. Sarcasm and jokes.
We have at least one friend who I know listens that's going to say something about
Oh my
it,
god,
so.
she's gonna think it's so funny because she's so Italian. Love you, Marissa. Anyway, that's it. I got it.
Yeah?
Oh no, and I also really liked the eagle, and I also really liked the
The penguin.
No, that was tragic.
Gritty.
What was the other one?
Gritty.
What was the other one? Right after the devil.
Oh, the dragon.
Yeah.
That one. That was
Puff.
good too.
The dragon that looks pretty good but doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.